Welcome to the Business Growth Podcast, and I'm here with Michelle, the CEO at Total Accounting and Bookkeeping. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here, Leonard.
So, so tell us a little bit more. What do you guys do exactly?
Yeah, so our company functions as the outsourced accounting department for values-led B2B service companies. Like most of our clients are scaling and they need to replace their back office solution. Either they have somebody that isn't performing and they want somebody who's beyond a vendor processing transactions, but somebody who's actually going to be their partner, help them understand what's happening in their business so that they can focus on what it is that they love to do and grow in the way that they want to and reach their goals.
hmm Gotcha. And I know, so you said you started this business about 14 years ago. What made you decide initially to go into like this type of field specifically?
Yeah, so my background, I'm a CPA. I worked at one of the big four firms and then worked in private accounting as well as corporate finance. And I sort of just started feeling like one cog in a big wheel at that last firm. I mean, it was a great place, but I really also have like a pull towards having more social impact. So I left corporate America in the midst of our firm having been acquired by a couple of private equity firms and a major culture change so that I could have more direct contact with people in a way that really matters. And so what ended up happening is that this was initially intended to be sort of a transitional step. But what I found is that by working directly with small business owners, I'm able to actually have that impact to help make a real direct impact in somebody's life. And so that's how it got started. It was just me in the back room of my house, and I grew over time. And so now we have 7 people across the country. So from here to Michigan, we've got people helping our clients.
Yeah, nice. And how have you found the journey so far? Is it what you expected it to be starting your own business, or how has that kind of been?
I always, I remember early on, I saw like some meme where it's like, it said like what people think of when you say you're a business owner. I had a lady in a convertible with her shades and like hair blowing in the wind, and it was like what you actually look like, and it was like a lady like tired with her coffee cup. And this definitely, like I would say, entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart. And it's taken a lot of work, but it's also really rewarding to be able to see like the outcome of our labor. So your question was it what I expected?
Yeah.
What do we, nothing is ever what you expect, right? I
Um,
think in over life, it's just like life is not linear. And like, is the more you can embrace change and just enjoy the ride, then it's all good. And it's been like, so there have been ups and downs. I've hired people, I've let people go. We've had to like narrow our client focus and yeah, it's been a lot of learning and a lot of fun along the way.
yeah, that's so true. It's like it's never what you expected. I find you always expect it to be a lot easier than what it actually is, and you also expect it to be a lot quicker than what it actually is. And then once you get in the trenches, you're like, ah, this is actually a lot of work, and it's going to take a lot of time.
Yeah, I totally remember being a kid and we would say like, "Oh yeah, his dad owns his own business." And you would just think like, "Wow, they must be rich." And it's just like you get to the other side like,
Yeah.
not immediately at least."
Oh yeah, definitely. And then, so how has things in the business changed from going from you working just doing by yourself all the way to you scaling to having, I believe you said 7 people working for you?
Yeah. I mean, so the biggest mental change as a leader is that, if you start a business as a solopreneur, you get to do that. You're a tactician, you're doing that thing. I'm an accountant, right? So I go in and I'm doing accounting. Over time, you become, yeah, I'm still an accountant, I'll be an accountant. However, you've got to really like empower people and train the next generation of leaders, or develop, I should say, the next generation of leaders, and really focus on the mission and being able to be more visible, especially in the accounting space. A lot of us start off as I'm sorry, introverts, and we don't necessarily gravitate towards, I want to be in front of the camera. I want to be uh, shouting my message from the mountaintops. But once you realize like what you have is something that really helps somebody, then all of your like shyness has to go out the window because you're not here. It's not about you. It's about the clients, right? So I think just making that shift into, okay, I am not the only accountant in the world. I can find great people who are aligned with what we want to do and develop this and make it bigger than me, bigger than, you know, bigger than just doing a set of books. It's really about helping people help. And really, I think like it's helping our clients, but it's helping our clients help their clients. So that's been the biggest shift for me.
Yeah, that's so true in terms of like fortune favors the bold, basically. Like if you're shy and you're not putting yourself out there, you just have a whole lot less opportunities that get presented to you. I remember that was like for me when I was starting my business as well, and then I had to get into marketing and sales and all that. And then if I wasn't putting myself out there, the business was essentially not growing.
Yeah, there's definitely this idea, just from a long time when we think of sales, we think of think of it being sleazy and things like that. And yeah, there are tons of people, especially like, we met on LinkedIn and there are people on LinkedIn, selling snake oil. But those of us who aren't have something valuable to give and nobody will know about it if we're just under a rock.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And then, so you said one of the things you're working on is like the next generation of leaders in the business so you can keep growing that. What is your process for doing that?
Well, I'll tell you, like one of the things I know you're into is AI, and I actually, so one thing is that we run on EOS. That's the Entrepreneurial Operating System based on a book called Traction by Gino Wickman. Several years ago, we hired a consultant to help us implement EOS in our business. And it has made a difference in terms of like creating a system by which we operate. It's in the name, right? Um, Over time, so I have had personnel shifts. And so it's only in the last year or so that we really have like a very cohesive team that is, we're all rowing our oars in the same direction. We're all like on the same page. So the boat is moving. But the big thing to come back to AI is I had to make that mental shift that said, Michelle, get out of this business, into the hands-on. And I used AI to help me develop a leadership training program
Uh-huh.
and ran it with them over 12 weeks. And it was a game changer. Like the way that they stepped up after that, um, it was night and day. And I don't think I would have been able to do it without the help of AI.
Yeah. Okay. That sounds really fascinating. What's like involved with that to have a leadership training AI program?
Yeah, well, so I'll say this, like I also am a certified coach. And so some of that transition from me saying like I like social impact and all of that thing was that during the course of this journey back in 2020, I earned a coaching certification. And so I do have some skills in terms of my own personal ability to develop, but to be able to say like, here's what I'm envisioning, create a program out of it. Like people have been doing it for years, but for whatever reason, I wasn't getting it done. So for me to be able to kind of go back and forth with, I think I did this one in chat as opposed to Claude, but to be able to go back and forth and craft sort of the arc that I wanted to take them on and what I wanted to
Yeah.
cover in each thing and to create something. Um, that's sort of how it worked. And then we had biweekly sessions that were interactive and I gave them some homework in between. Um, that's sort of how it worked.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, I find chat is very good to just make everything very concise and sound very professional from like just like an idea in your head and you just brain dumping all this different stuff and then it makes it very concise and very easy then for someone else to like follow.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I won't lie, AI is so new-ish that we're still trying to understand what the ethics are behind it and where the kinks are. Obviously, we're not putting in any real sensitive information, but to be able to create a program that's sort of generic-ish, um, felt safe enough.
Yeah, gotcha. And then, so what are some of the other goals that the business is working on internally at the moment for the rest of the year?
Yeah. Um, well, the big thing is to be able to dial into those mission driven and values led business owners. Like I'm a little bit of a unicorn in that I'm not like super, like my values lean towards the social. And so most accountants are pretty, I've read that most accountants are pretty conservative and it's all about profit first and minimize taxes, which is great. But I think we have a broader social responsibility. So it's really like leaning into like who our client base is that can that we can support in that way, that also want to build sort of a different type of function under a different type of capitalism, um, and expand in that way. Um, as any business goes, even 14 years in, like you take the business that comes, but we've had to be more selective and also create something that's different from the norm.
Right. So you're looking to expand your client base essentially.
Definitely. And honestly, like, and I think like my whole, all this talk about growing the leaders, et cetera, is that eventually, I'm getting to the late third quarter of my career. And so it really is too about me transitioning into something else at some point. Um, and so in some of that, we're constantly looking at the best technologies. At some point, I was accused of having shiny object syndrome probably, 6 years ago. And so we got into this place like, no, we need to settle on a tech stack. We need to just decide. But the problem with that is like you can get complacent and the world continues to evolve and you're like in this tech stack because it works. And that doesn't necessarily continue to work. Like we've got great tech that we enjoy working with, that is proven, that we vetted, but there are new things. So for example, we're probably shifting into a new project management system, sort of consolidating some of our tech into one system that we think is better than what we've been using in the past. I don't know that I want to, whether it makes sense to like promote any systems directly on the video, but we're really trying to continue to stay tech forward because we think that's what is going to help everybody.
Hmm. Yeah, I did a bit of a like tech audit myself like a couple of days ago and just looking at all the different softwares that I use, and it's like crazy how quickly these expenses add up from all the softwares that you use. And then when you start doing like a little bit of research, you see, okay, actually there's this new software now that's like half the price of the current one that I'm using. There's this package I'm on that is actually way more than what I need. And yeah, it's crazy how much money I save just by looking at a couple of different softwares and doing that audit.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that's sort of our job too for our clients too. It's like
Mm.
in your personal life and your business life, subscriptions just stack up. And
Yeah.
we're also constantly being advertised to. Now I'm thinking more on a personal level, but like there's so many tools and so many things, and this seems cool. And the next thing you know, you've got like bloat all over your systems, right? And like you said, you can do a tech audit. And not only is it that there's one that's less expensive, but there's one that may be better or one that can
Yeah.
do three things while you have three different tools doing
Oh yeah.
disparate things, and it talks to each other. Sometimes too you go with the one that's not the best because it it makes more sense because you can do this part yourself. Yeah,
hmm
I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. 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 Gotcha. And then so I know when we spoke as well, you said you're looking to expand a little bit into the more like fractional CFO type of work as well. What's like the reason behind that?
I mean, I think ultimately people need more insight. Like we have historically done bookkeeping through financial reporting. So we would say maybe we're outsourced controllers as opposed to outsourced CFOs. What we're finding is our clients have an appetite for more. And, not only fractional CFO, but we're also expanding into tax as well, because once we've developed sort of a trusted relationship, they want to stick with us. I mean, what in the past we would find that like a client has a relationship with us and they have a relationship with another financial professional, whether that's the CFO or the tax professional. But guess what? When they have their first question, they go, "Hey, Michelle, I'm calling you because you answer." Right. And so, and we do have the knowledge and expertise. And so it's a delicate dance because we also don't want to dilute our expertise to the point that we're stretched too thin. So that's what we're constantly trying to evaluate.
Right. Yeah. So it'd be a little bit more specialized as opposed to doing every single thing as well.
Or, since we're expanding personnel wise, we can have this person. I don't have enough to say like a whole department of people, but this person who was our fractional CFO, and then we have like different people assigned to a client.
Yeah, gotcha. And then I know when we spoke as well, last time you said another goal is you guys want to get more like visible. So what's like the reason behind that, and what does that like look like? Do you have much of a plan to get more visibility?
Yeah, I mean, so one of the things that we talked about earlier, like you were talking about fortune favors the bold,
Yeah.
right? Um, you have to get visible or nobody knows what you're doing. One of the things, like literally in our EOS quarterly, which was not long ago, I said, I'm going to look for a podcast to go on. I'm going to look for some speaking opportunities. Write for more like a hobby, but I want to spend more time writing in a way that values this business. Those are some of the channels I've looked at. Do you have any other ideas that I might be missing?
So you said podcasts and like writing, right?
And speaking opportunities.
Yeah, I find a podcast is pretty good. I guess it just depends on like what your end goal is as well, but I find the podcast it is really good content machine because like with the podcast, so like you get the long form podcast clip, then usually I create a LinkedIn post from the podcast clip as well, and then if I have a guest, I usually get them to share the post as well on LinkedIn. And then you also usually get a couple of little shorts from the long form as well, like little
Okay.
bite-sized clips that are like 1 minute or something. And then so you just have like 3 pieces of content from a fairly short
From
thing.
one
So
thing. Yeah.
yeah, and I just find unless you're pretty good at just filming content on like in front of a camera, which is pretty difficult. Like it took me a while to get with the way you're just like filming and just you talking. A podcast is just like a more natural transition to being on camera and talking, and it's just like a more um yeah, easy way for people also to learn a little bit more about you in a less professional setup, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I'm super impressed that you are like with what you're doing and how much reach you have.
Thanks, appreciate it. Yeah, it's been a while. I was like the main thing for me was just every episode get like a little bit better. So if you watch the first episodes, or hopefully you don't watch them because they weren't that great, every episode is just like get a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better questions, a little bit better audio, a little bit better like lighting, a little bit better software, and then it's kind of got to the point where it is now where yeah, some of the episodes do pretty decent for like a pretty specialized type of content. So yeah.
Yeah. That's a great lesson. I remember my daughter telling me that at one point because I was looking at another professional who had a bunch of Instagram posts and she was like, well, scroll back to the beginning. They didn't always look
Mm.
this good. And we couldn't get to the, like, there's a
Oh
certain
yeah.
point where you can't even get to the beginning and
Yeah.
all of your stuff is good, right? So that's worth
Yeah.
striving for.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, you should, it's always funny like when I tell people my origin story when I started filming content for one of my other businesses, and I was just so nervous on camera that I used to have to take like a shot of alcohol before filming the content. So I'd be like alone at home. It'd be like in the middle of the day, and I'm just like sweating. And I'm like, oh, I gotta film this content. Oh man, I'm like shaking. I'm like really nervous, and then I take like 1 or 2 shots of alcohol, and then just to like relax a little bit. And then it's yeah, it's really funny. From I went from that, and now I'm somewhat decent with filming content, but it all started from just really sucking,
It
basically.
all it all started from like, yeah, alcoholism. I'm kidding. But you
Yeah.
probably could get a good affiliate deal out of that.
Maybe I could have promoted that as well and
Yeah.
talked a little bit, but yeah, it's pretty
Yeah.
interesting. It's just like for me, it's just 1% better every day, and then eventually, yeah, you've come really far.
Yeah, that's a good lesson. And you probably got to cut out that little bit alcoholism bit out of our. Sorry about
Um,
that.
no worries. I know we're starting to run out of time here. It's been really fun. How about let's finish on what are some of the best books that you've read that you find have helped you the most in business, or if you don't have that, just any books in general that have
In
helped you.
life. Yeah, um so one, these are probably not super business books. I'll start with like Brene Brown, The Gifts of Imperfection. Like people know her book Daring Greatly, I think the most, but The Gifts of Imperfection is sort of like really got me to understand that, like that thing, that life isn't linear, that you don't know what to expect, and you sort of have to embrace the imperfections that come along with life. That was a huge mindset shift for me. Um, there's a book called Essentialism that I try to reread. I say that I try to reread it once a year, but if you hold a gun to my head, I don't know the last time.
Yeah,
But it really sort of like dials into like focusing on what really matters and not getting distracted by a bunch of other things. And I think that, I mean,
yeah,
ultimately, I say these aren't business books, but that's so important, um, just to be able to shut out all the noise. I will say traction has been a big deal for us to be able to like create a system in our business and move forward effectively. Um, and then the last one, the very common book, Atomic Habits.
oh,
I'm
yeah, that's a good
sure
one.
you're familiar with that one.
Yeah,
So those are some that I
oh, yeah,
think have been
no,
huge.
yeah. Have you read The One Thing? I think
I
it's by
have
Eric Rice.
I have heard of it, but I don't think I've read it. Is that yours?
It might be up there. It's very similar to the essentialism, what you said. It just goes to like focusing on like the one thing that's going to move the needle the most in the business. And it's also a bit about just like really focusing on one task as opposed to multitasking and stuff like that. So I just thought it was like similar to the book that you said.
Essentialism. Yeah. That, when you bring that up, there was a book a long time ago that I read called The Myth of Multitasking. And it
Yeah, it's
has this,
similar to that. Yeah.
yeah, it has an exercise where you like write your name and then write the numbers like 1 through 26. And then it says, okay, now do it over and write like one letter and then a number and a letter and a number. And that in and of itself, like really clearly illustrates how multitasking just doesn't work because it takes you like 10 times as long to write L1, E2,
Yeah.
O3
Yeah.
versus letter to beer and one through whatever.
Oh yeah, no, that's so true. Yeah, I try to have like focus time blocks of each task, and that's when I find I'm the most productive, as opposed to do a little bit something here, a little bit something there.
Yeah. It's sometimes hard with all the distractions we have, but
Oh yeah, yeah,
you know,
definitely.
we always
Well,
have a chance to start over. Okay.
yeah. Well, it's been great having you on the show. Could keep going for ages. But where can people go a little bit more about you and what you guys do?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing would be our website. It's totalaccounting.net. You can learn about who we are, what we do. Again, we are nationwide, so we can help anyone in the United States. Um, Also, we've got our Instagram at Total Accounting, and we're on Facebook as well. We are not on X. We are, and then I'm on
Mhm.
LinkedIn as well. So
Well,
LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram.
all right, awesome, cool. I'll include those links in the show notes below. It's been great having you on the show. You guys been listening to the Business Growth Podcast. Until next time, keep growing.